Hey everybody, welcome back to All Fiction is Fantasy. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today on All Fiction is Fantasy, we are going to talk about The Thing, a new classic of alien terror. That's right, this is The Thing, the novelization written by Alan Dean Foster, based on a screenplay by Bill Lancaster, and also based on the original short story by John W. Campbell. So The Thing has a kind of interesting lineage, a legacy. Of course, it was originally written as a short story or maybe a novella called Who Goes There by John W. Campbell, originally published in 1938, kind of the golden era of science fiction. Then that was made into a movie called The Thing from Another World, directed by Christian Nyby in 1951. Of course, that was remade as The Thing, directed by John Carpenter in 1982. And then we have The Thing novelization in 1982 as well. Now, Alan Dean Foster is kind of the king of the novelization. He has written novelizations for many of the huge kind of big science fiction and fantasy franchises, things like Star Trek, Star Wars, Alien, Terminator, Transformers, as well as for films like The Black Hole, Clash of the Titans, Krull, The Last Starfighter, Starman, Pale Rider, Chronicles of Riddick, and many more. His novelizations were actually my introduction to Alan Dean Foster. I'm pretty sure I've told this story before, but it's very brief. As a kid, I was not allowed to see rated R movies, but I could read just about any books that I wanted. So Alan Dean Foster's Alien was actually my introduction to the world of Alien. That is how I saw the movie. That is how I was able to talk to other kids on the playground who had seen the movie. But I had different knowledge of some of the things that happened in the movie because of the differences in the novelization from the movie. And so I kind of had a director's cut of the movie in my head. So the novelization of The Thing is interesting in that it reads more like a mix of the original The Thing from Another World and John Carpenter's The Thing than it does a strict novelization of John Carpenter's The Thing. And that's for a very interesting reason, and that is the lack of visual effects. Because The Thing is based on the screenplay by Bill Lancaster, it lacks the details to pull from that were actually created by Rob Bottin with some help from Stan Winston. Rob Bottin did most of the visual effects in the movie, and Stan Winston was brought in to do some of the animatronics. The screenplay most likely reads like a more standard paranoid science fiction mystery, and that's basically what the book is. If you were to remove the visual effect elements from the film, you would still have a pretty great movie with strong dialogue, interesting characters portrayed by a great ensemble cast, and a story about paranoia and the erosion of trust in the face of a potentially apocalyptic event that could wipe out all of humanity. The core story is one that focuses on a lofty science fiction idea, and that's what Alan Dean Foster's novelization focuses on as well. Because it's a book written in prose, Foster can convey the inner monologue of the characters and write more directly about how they are feeling and what they are thinking. The novelization deals more directly with the ideas of paranoia. We spend more time with each of the characters alone, and Foster plays with these scenes and shows how they help to erode the trust between the characters. So The Thing novelization works as a pretty good science fiction novel, but it does not work nearly as well as a horror novel. The horror in the film comes in the form of body horror, of the twisted, disgusting depictions of malformed, fleshy things caught in mid-transition being roasted with fire, conjoined with guts and slime, with body cavities erupting into razor-toothed maws, heads being pulled from their torsos and sprouting spider legs, and the gestalt twisted final form of the dog, beast, alien, man thing. All of those elements did not come from the screenplay. They came from the mind of Rob Bottin, and thus Foster didn't have access to that crucial element of the film. I think this would have been a much different book had it been based on the film and not just the screenplay or the original story. I also think this points to how different filmmakers work. If we compare and contrast The Thing and the Poltergeist novelizations, the Poltergeist novelization being written by James Caan, and this is one of my, not just one of my favorite novelizations, but one of my favorite books that I have ever read. I love the Poltergeist novelization. But if we compare and contrast these two things, I think we get a glimpse of how differently John Carpenter and Steven Spielberg / Tobe Hooper work. I would imagine that Spielberg does more pre-visual work on his films than Carpenter does, because Spielberg's movies tend to be more interested in the visual effects. Carpenter tends to be more interested in creating tension. The difference also points to the different kinds of novelizations. The Thing is based on the screenplay, and it is also based on the original Campbell story, so it is pulling from a more classical science fiction source, whereas Poltergeist is actually based on a story written by Steven Spielberg as well as the screenplay. These two differences in approach, I think, are quite interesting and show that there is more to the craft of writing a novelization than what might be first apparent. The Thing was, for me, a kind of holy grail novelization. The movie is in my top 10 of all time. I watch it about once a year. I like Alan Dean Foster quite a bit. The book can be pretty hard to find and can go for a hefty sum. At first, I was a bit disappointed by it because it lacked the things that I think make the film version so great, and that is mainly the visual effects. But as an intellectual exercise of examining the novelization as a craft, I got more out of the book than I originally thought I would. And I'm keenly interested in diving more deeply into the craft of writing novelizations. And I really want to get James Caan on the channel for an interview. I contacted him about a year ago when I first started this channel, and he said he would be interested in an interview, but I postponed it because I wanted to make sure that I had more subscribers. And now that I'm at about 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to contact James Caan again and see if he would be interested in coming onto the channel to talk to me about how one goes about writing a novelization, because I think they're really interesting. So, all right, you guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this review of The Thing, a novelization written by Alan Dean Foster, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.